what this is really all about is preserving video store culture, preserving a culture of access, of affordable, equitable access to film, preserving theatrical. These are not outdated modes of access to film. And I think if we want to see a future where there are generations of people who are spending money on film, who love film enough to invest in it, we better start investing in spaces like this right now. Otherwise, we're going to lose them to a lot of other distractions.
Hello and welcome to Here in LA, Eagle Rock Edition. Today, we get to meet Maggie Mackay, the executive director of Vidiots, which is the beloved video store you might remember being in Santa Monica that had one of the finest collections of DVDs, Blu-rays, and even VHS tapes in all of LA. Recently, they packed up and headed east to Eagle Rock. And also, they purchased the legendary Eagle Theater. So not only will there be an amazing video store in Eagle Rock, but a renovated, gorgeous art house movie theater right next door, and it's all gonna happen this year. Maggie gave me a tour of the place, which is still under construction, and we couldn't stop yapping. So let me stop yapping so that we can pass the mic to Maggie so she can tell you what's going on. With Maggie?
You got it, Maggie Mackay, executive director of Vidiots Foundation.
Thank you so much for letting me be in here.
We're standing in the future video store, which of course is Vidiots, which of course birthed this entire project, because without Vidiots, the Eagle, which has been here as a community movie theater from 1929 until 2000, she operated as a movie theater, and we wouldn't be bringing her back without Vidiots. So it really goes back to the video store, and we're standing in the room that will soon be the video store with 50,000 titles on DVD and Blu-ray, and our iconic Vidiots neon, and...
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Will it be blue outside too? Or
Our
teal,
neon,
whatever that was?
We have a really famous, giant, iconic neon sign that hung over our store in Santa Monica for 32 years. She's in storage. We'll fix her up, get her back outside of the storefront here at the Eagle. And then, we had a lot of pink neon was our thing. And we have a very famous blue neon sign that'll be inside.
It was the 80s.
It was the 80s. And we'll get that all going again. We're not doing too many changes in this room except making it look really pretty. Everything is on rolling racks. We can use this space not just for the video store, but for all sorts of gatherings as well.
Will the VHS tapes have a special home too?
Yes. So our VHS tapes, because of the renovations on the building, the VHS tapes will have a safe, out of harm's way home in the upper level or with the booth where the projection booth is. And those are, what did I say, 11,000 tapes. And we have a huge project that's all about preserving the work that's on those tapes.
Approximately, what's the square footage of this part? Do you know? You don't know.
I unfortunately don't know. The square footage of the entire building is around 11,000 square feet.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out, is this about the same size of the original Vidiots?
Good question. The floor space in the room that we're standing in is actually quite a bit smaller than what we had in Santa Monica, but because we have a new home for the VHS tapes, and because we're gaining some wall space here that we didn't have in Santa Monica, we will make it work. One of the important things about the designs for this building, we're standing in the storefront, which is a very long storefront attached, flanking a huge movie theater. And when we got the building, the storefront, they were two different spaces, and there really was no relationship between the theater and the storefront. And what was really important for us to do is not to have a kind of cute, kitschy throwback video store sitting next to the big movie theater. It was really the other way around. We are rehabilitating the movie theater to support the video store and vice versa. It's kind of like a meet cute.
Yes.
Without Vidiots, the Eagle would never have made her comeback. I don't even know what would have happened to this building. I think it probably would have been knocked down. And without the Eagle, Vidiots would never have survived for what we think will be another at least 30 years. So these two things that may seem antiquated to some are coming together to make something completely new and wonderful. And I don't know, I think of them as like two old people that like meet and give themselves a completely new life. And yeah, we're happy to bring back not one, but two iconic LA spaces.
Are you going to keep the cool dance floor?
We are trying so hard to keep the cool dance floor. The people who owned the dance studio, we adore. And they retired. We really wanted to honor the space by keeping the floor. We'll see how that works out. We had an old pipe burst in it.
Oh.
It didn't help the flooring.
Because it seems like most of it's okay.
Yeah, it's in pretty good shape. Yep,
and so maybe it's easier to just fix up.
Yeah. Also, I want to play basketball in here. It's basketball flooring, essentially.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Like parquet, kind of.
I think pine, but yeah.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
I think. I don't know.
So these chairs that I see over here, are these from the Eagle?
Yeah, these are the Eagle's chairs. They've been kind of upgraded and cleaned up over the years. They're sitting piled here. They will be cleaned up and made beautiful. We even have a campaign where we're allowing Vidiots and Eagle lovers to name the seats. That's an important fundraising campaign for us right now. And yeah, we have a bunch of extras. The theater operated for most of its life at 900 to 800 seats. The church that was running the theater, using the theater for a long time, had about 350, I think. So we're taking that down to 250.
So when people see a movie here in the future, 250 seats.
Correct.
So it'll be a comfortable experience.
Comfortable experience. And wait till you see the big room they're in.
All right.
All right. We have so many film lovers in Northeast LA and in Eagle Rock. And one of the things we're really missing is a place for those people to gather, is a place for filmmakers to show their work. We have a real lack of access to documentary and international titles, and we are excited to be using this space as a microcinema and a flexible community space. It'll also be somewhat an extension of the video store, because as I was saying, we're tight on space, and a big part of our mission is to grow the collection. So I think you'll also see some video store content in here in this space, and it'll do everything from let people watch a movie to give someone a space for a birthday party for kids, animation workshops for kids in the neighborhood. The trick with the spaces that we've got, our fourth wall that runs along the long part of the theater will be flexible. Flip it against the back wall of the microcinema, and then you have this wide open space. So we could turn this into a polling place on election day. We could have a community meeting in here. We could have a short run of a doc or an international title that's not showing anywhere else in LA. We could have a feedback screening for filmmakers who live on this side of town and don't want to haul their asses to the west side, because that's where all the screening rooms are. On top of it, it's our mission to keep this place affordable.
There's no screening rooms, like, would you say east of like Beverly Hills?
No,
well maybe in Hollywood.
There are lots of screening rooms in Hollywood, and
Yeah.
I'm sure there are now screening rooms attached to post houses and places like that. But one, they're hard to find, and two, they're really expensive. And the point and the purpose of having a space that's flexible and affordable is that people can actually use it. And it's a resource for your community.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just mean, your wealthier donors and patrons. That also means, the people that live here and have been coming to this building for a really long time and want to be part of it.
One other thing about this noise over here.
Sure.
This is busy.
It's a busy, busy neighborhood.
So people, I'm sure, have noticed that Vidiots is coming back. and they're now on the east side as opposed to the west side.
Yep.
So like just the the free publicity of being on Eagle Rock Boulevard. I mean, this is a lot of traffic.
It's a lot of traffic. And the great thing about it is that it's like people like all over Northeast LA. And so, you know, I think sometimes people think of Eagle Rock as like a kind of like a really interesting little neighborhood, little kind of quiet neighborhood. And it's like, this is Northeast Los Angeles. This is a huge community of people.
Yeah.
And we have great restaurants and bars, wonderful boutiques. It's the independent businesses around here are amazing, and a lot of long-standing businesses that are still here, still operating. We're friends with so many of the business owners, and Walt's down the street, and the skateboard shop. We have a skate shop just like a few feet away. I can't wait to do lots of stuff, show a lot of skateboarding movies in here, which is sort of a touch point of the Vidiots collection.
When I told people I was going to do Eagle Rock, everybody mentioned you.
Amazing.
Everybody. Everybody said you've got to talk to them. To the point that I thought I wouldn't be able to talk to you because you're too busy and too well-known.
We are not too busy or not too well-known. Spread the word.
So I think you liked a tweet that I had in some just random conversation about film preservation.
Yep.
Because we're nerds. And I was like, oh, this is my chance. Let me DM her real quick and see. And to your credit, you got back to me right away. And so we're here.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, the reality of Vidiots is that we're a really small skeleton staff organization. We have incredible history in the city. We have an amazing board of directors and an advisory council. But the reality is that we took this building over and started this project 4 months before COVID.
Oh my goodness.
So we have raised $1.7 million of a $2.5 million goal during a pandemic when we couldn't gather people, we couldn't have regular fundraisers. And to be perfectly honest, it's still an incredibly challenging project. And the biggest challenge we have doing this during a pandemic is that a lot of people still don't know we're doing this. So any chance I get to talk to someone or sing the gospel or reach a new film lover who doesn't know the impact of Vidiots in the past, present, and hopefully the future, I take it.
Well, God bless you
Thank
for all
you
that.
very much.
Also, you're up against so many hard things going on.
Yeah, you could say that.
So many. I mean, we could probably list at least 15 easy. But one of them that I find really interesting is Vidiots was supported by the community in Santa Monica.
It was.
You couldn't be any further away from them right now.
Yeah.
And so I feel like maybe you had to reintroduce what this is to this side of town, because if, let's say I was a lover of Vidiots and I lived in West LA or Venice, I might not give you guys money for the Eagle Rock location.
Lucky for us, the community, because we've been in Los Angeles for so long, and because LA really is migratory. I mean, yes, people live in their neighborhoods for a long time, but a lot of people don't have the luxury of living in their neighborhoods for a long time. And a lot of people got priced out of Santa Monica. But also Vidiots was so famous and so known to be welcoming and to have such deep roots, not just in their neighborhood, but in all of Southern California. I mean, we used to have regular customers who would drive down from Santa Barbara to rent. And so the brand in and of itself is known way outside of Santa Monica. On top of that, the thing that I love hearing are people that grew up in LA, maybe they grew up in Santa Monica or they lived in Santa Monica. They were clerks, they were customers. And then as adults, they migrated east, as so many people have. And suddenly you have all of these people who feel an incredible kinship with the brand living now in this neighborhood. my really favorite stories are the ones where someone says, I grew up in Eagle Rock. I grew up going to the Eagle. It was my childhood movie theater. Then I went to UCLA, but I really got my film education at Vidiots. And now I've moved back to Eagle Rock. And now I get to have these two things that I love in the same space under the same roof. So, and that we still have a beloved community of people in Santa Monica. They, believe it or not, still do support us.
Good.
And send us their love. And eventually, you know, maybe we'll have like a mobile video store we can bring. We can bring some Vidiots back to Santa Monica.
Or if you, I mean, I'm sure you're going to have many, many special events in the theater. It's not that hard to drive from the west side to over here. In fact, on this, I mean, I'm learning about these neighborhoods too.
Yeah.
Cacao, this Mexican
Best.
they call it, is worth the trip alone.
Best.
So if I am going to see it,
Greatest mole ever. Yeah.
it's really, I mean, Jonathan Gold knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But you can make a whole day of it.
Yeah.
And it's not like it stopped anybody from going to the Rose Bowl back in, like,
No.
people still go to Pasadena. They may as well come to Eagle Rock too, right?
I also think if there's one thing that we've all learned in the pandemic, it's that we are one city, and the incessant east side, west side breakdowns are really quite ridiculous. I mean, nobody wants to sit in traffic for 4 hours, but I think we learned to get out of our neighborhoods during the pandemic and appreciate the fact that this really is, all of it is our home, and all of it is a resource for us culturally, emotionally, psychologically. And yeah, why box yourself into thinking that it's two different spaces when it's not?
In an interview you gave, I think it was you that gave it, at the former location, you were talking about a director whose movie, one of his older movies, was only on VHS because he didn't have the music rights to pod over to DVD. Are there a lot of examples of those where we'll never see?
Infinite.
And that's the niche that you guys can fill very easily, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are the number of titles you can rattle off, or someone who's more expert than I can rattle off. I think that in that interview, I was talking about John Waters' Mondo Trasho, I think is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But really famous filmmakers have films that are inaccessible because of things like music licensing. And yeah, I mean, if,
because it would be too cost prohibitive to have a tiny movie like that.
Yeah, there would be no way. There would be no way.
Because not enough people are going to buy it or rent it, but you got to pay Columbia Records $1 million.
If they'll even allow you to license. I mean, my husband's a music supervisor, so I have some window into this.
So it's got like Beatles or Stones music on there that is just super expensive.
It. I can't remember what the exact, issues with that film were, but it's really common. I mean, it's also common. I think a lot of people have the perception that this is a VHS thing. It's not. There are so many movies that are not streaming on streaming services, and streaming services are not the enemy, but they become intensely problematic when they are beginning to eradicate other forms of access because of. I mean, we talk so much about gatekeeping, but we rarely talk about the fact that there really are a few large corporations deciding what you have access to when it comes to this medium. There are also amazing streaming services like Mubi and Criterion Channel. I can't speak more highly of those companies. They're also supporters of Vidiots, so shout out.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Great.
But they believe in theatrical, and they believe in the coexistence of spaces like Vidiots. They understand that it's an ecosystem and that streaming can do a lot. But in my opinion, it cannot turn small children into lifelong film lovers. And it doesn't have a proven track record yet because it hasn't been around long enough. And I'm seeing it in my own house with my own kids, that when they, especially during the pandemic, lost access to their video store and their movie theater, their interest in film went through the floor. Now it's like homework for me to get them to watch a movie.
Well, also streaming is kind of a month-to-month thing. So if you miss, for example, one of my favorite movies when I was a teenager was Erg the Music War, which was produced by the Copelands, the Police Brothers. And it makes sense why it wasn't on DVD, because all it is music.
Yeah.
And suddenly I saw it on Canopy the other day.
Love Canopy.
Which is, if you guys don't know, it's a streaming service by the libraries. And so...
It's free with your library card.
All great words. Free, library.
Yep. Libraries, the cornerstone of democracy.
But as soon as I saw it, I watched it as fast as I could because I don't know if it's going to disappear forever.
Yeah.
Whereas if I see it here, that's going to be my buddy that's always there. I can recommend it to people, no matter where they live in LA. I can say if you happen to be over there, and that's one of the beauties of a physical brick and mortar store, right?
Yeah. I mean, also just the advantages to browsing physical media, especially for people who are, little. It's really important for little kids to be able to pick something up and look at it. And an algorithm that just feeds them something because there's a bottom line attached to it is not a way to turn someone into a lover of art.
I used to do audio and video installations in people's houses. And one day I was at a family's home and their kid was maybe 1 year old, 2 years old, something like that, just really, really young. And the mom was like, have her find you name any Disney movie and she can get it for you. I was like, can she read? She's like, no. And that's the trick. Yeah. I go, fine. Can you get me a Donald Duck movie? And she could. To your point about learning and falling in love with videos and movies.
Yep.
These little kids, for some reason, their brain actually does work a lot better with that than I'm sure a remote control and a Roku device.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and also it's just like the limitations on it. Algorithms are designed to give you what they think that you want, but that can't replace a human being, and it can't replace the experience of self-discovery. So one of my examples that I love to use is that one of my favorite movies when I was growing up was Moonstruck.
Oh, yeah.
Moonstruck was not marketed to what I was maybe 10 when that movie came out. I was certainly not the market for that movie, but I liked the box cover art. I was intrigued by Cher kicking a bottle and looking like incredibly happy in the streets of Manhattan. And so I picked it up and I took it home and I watched it. Well, that had a deep impact on who I am. And that movie would never have come up in an algorithm for a 10-year-old. So every single one of us has that story. Mm-hmm. Every single one of us. Mm-hmm. And so if you just take that entire equation out of the mix, where does that get you in 15 years from today? Mm-hmm. Do you have a thriving film culture? And do you have a huge community of people that are investing their money back into film? My assumption is no. I think they'll go other places. People go to the party that they're invited to. And I think without brick and mortar spaces and without physical media, you can't invite everybody to the film party.
A while back, we spoke to somebody in another kind of struggling industry, Skylight Books.
I love Skylight.
And she said that what you're talking about is their bread and butter. People coming in and just asking one of the employees.
Absolutely.
What do you got for me?
Yep.
And as somebody who worked at a record store / video store in the 80s in West LA, shout out the original Licorice Pizza.
Yeah.
After a while, you get to know your customers. You remember what they got before. They remember you. You can be honest with each other. Yeah. And you can be like, I love Diner, but my wife hated it. And it's like, I told you it's a boy's movie. Like, relax. It's a guy's movie, whatever. And you build a rapport. Crazy idea. Humans being human with each other.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, also, you can't underestimate the interaction between strangers in a place like that, because they have one thing in common when they're standing in that space. And that thing that they have in common can be like completely mind-blowingly inspirational. I have an anecdote that I like to share. I came in one day when we were still open in Santa Monica, and one of our amazing clerks ran up and said, "You got to look at this." And she handed me a torn off piece of a paper bag, and it was a note, and it said, "Dear Vidiots, please tell Jack we loved the recommendation of La Chienne." Okay, well, this is one of the most important pieces of French cinema of all time. These people had never seen it, and they were Fran McDormand and Joel Coen.
What?
And they had left this note for Jack. Well, Jack was not a clerk. He was not hired to be there. Jack was a regular customer who spent a lot of time with us at Vidiots. I'm not sure Jack had 2 nickels to rub together, but here he is standing in this space, an absolute equal to 2 of the most influential and successful film figures in the history of film.
Wow.
And he undoubtedly had an indelible impact on the way that they make art after that point, because before La Chienne and after La Chienne are 2 different things. And so again, you can't underestimate the magic that can happen between human beings when they have art in common. And that's what we want to recreate. And Vidiots was really famous for that. I mean, that was something Patty and Kathy, our founders, really instilled in the staff. You know, we were founded in LA, and you know, we had a lot of really high profile people come through that space for 32 years when we were in Santa Monica. And it was a place where people could feel really comfortable and at home and safe and you know, equal to other film lovers, which is really important.
Since we are in Eagle Rock,
Yes.
can I ask you if it was just kismet that this was available to you, or did you want to leave the West Side?
We did not want to leave the West Side. I started working at Vidiots in 2016. I tried desperately hard to keep there's a motorcycle. We're replacing the doors on this theater, by the way. There won't be so much sound bleed. When I started in 2016, it was my goal to keep Vidiots in Santa Monica.
Oh.
In spite of the fact that many of the people who knew I was coming to work at Vidiots were saying, "Great, can you move it to the East Side?" And I kept saying, "No, this is a landmark space. Like, we need to stay here." And the longer I was there, the more I realized there was no business model there. The neighborhood had radically changed. A lot of our beloved customers were not able to afford Santa Monica anymore and were no longer living there. We had a lot of customers who were still there, but were not able to invest in Vidiots as a 501c3 nonprofit the way that we really desperately needed at the time. Yes, they were still renting movies, but that was not enough to sustain us. We had a wonderful small screening room there, but we had no room to grow. And the people that most wanted to come to the kinds of events that we were producing did not live on the West Side.
Really?
No. And I talked endlessly with Patty and Kathy about if we were going to move, where we were going to move. And we all knew that we needed to get into a neighborhood that was in some way reflective of what Santa Monica had been when Patty and Kathy moved there in 1985. And we knew that we needed to do essentially what Patty and Kathy had done. And so in 85, Patty and Kathy wanted to start a business. They wanted to do it together. They wanted to work for themselves. They wanted to do something creative. They looked around at the landscape and they knew there was this big gap in these newfangled video stores, right? and they were like, well, video stores are cool, but none of them around us have the movies we want to watch. there are all these commercial movies. They don't have independent work. They don't have video art. They don't have all this weird shit that we want to see. And so they were like, okay, so we'll give everybody the weird shit. And they opened Vidiots and became one of the most famous video stores in the world, and had a banging business for decades.
And so Eagle Rock, not Highland Park, for the home for weird shit?
Listen, we were looking everywhere on the east side. I knew it had to be the east side. I didn't know if that meant Los Feliz. But when we looked again, when we went back and looked at the gaps, we knew there was a big gap in Northeast LA. There were very few movie theaters. The ones that are, there's one movie theater over here. It's a commercial movie theater. It's great. It is affordable, but it's first run movies. There was virtually no art house fare. And I knew this movie theater existed. I had no idea we would end up being the stewards of it. I live down in Glassell Park. My best friend used to live on Yosemite. We would sit at that light and cry about why this isn't a movie theater. That was like 15 years ago. I get stopped every day by a neighbor who says, oh my God, we're so excited the Eagles coming back. In the 70s, I remember when Song Remains the Same was in the theater. There were lines around the block for like 6 weeks. We used to come out and talk to people who were waiting in line to get their movie tickets, which actually brings me to a good point in the building, which is that as an 800 to 900 seat movie theater, this space had almost zero lobby. The lobby wall was where you're standing by this pole, and it ended there.
Wow.
So you can see I'm a real petite lady, and I would say 2 of me stretched out long was about how wide the lobby was. There was a women's room with 2 toilets downstairs and a men's room up a flight of stairs.
Did they not want to make money off of concessions or any of that?
When this theater was built, the model for film was not reliant on concessions. And so probably when this theater was built, there were no concessions. As it grew, we know there was a concession stand because we have this amazing friend, Maggie Mackay, if you're out there, who used to make this magic nacho sauce.
Ooh.
But it was a teeny tiny lobby, and I would be very surprised if you could even get it permitted these days.
One of the cool things that the original Vidiots had was autographs of directors and actors.
On the VHS tapes.
On the VHS tapes.
Yeah.
People who would
boxes.
who would visit
Right.
Vidiots, and you guys would stick a box in front of them and they'd sign it happily,
Indeed.
I'm sure. Where will that be?
Those guys will all be somewhere in the video store. So you'll
spread
get
out.
to see them.
Spread out in
Yeah.
the video area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Much like we had before. So,
Which, again, so cool.
yeah.
And the longer these things stay in business, the cooler I mean, first of all, I would think a VHS box for a millennial is kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, all of these younger generations are actually really interested in gathering. They're really interested in physical media. They don't want to fart into the same couch cushion over and over again to get their art. I mean, they want to put their clothes on and leave the house and be part of a community. And we get great feedback from millennials and Gen Zers who are just stoked to come back to the world.
But even us Gen Xers, when we see
Indeed.
a movie box, I have a strange photographic memory about both album labels and their colors and what they kind of looked like.
Yeah.
So if you tell me Billy Joel's Piano Man,
Yep.
I can see that red label spinning around.
Yep.
And the same goes for the clamshell boxes of VHS tapes.
I'm exactly the same way.
And it goes away digitally.
Mine was It's Alive.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you asked me about I don't know, a new record by even Beyonce, I have no visual
Well, because you have
connection.
nothing physical to connect it to.
Yeah.
And we really are animals that like to pick things up and look at them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's cool stuff in the back. I mean, and then with DVDs and then laser discs. I mean, all this kind of older stuff. You Yes, it was great the other day to see Erg the Music War. But I sat there for about 20 minutes, and it just didn't do the same for me anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it was cool to see. Everybody looked skinny. But it was way different than if I had found that at your store and bought it or rented it.
Yeah.
I can't buy movies here?
We'll have some specialty items for sale at Vidiots, but our footprint in the video store area is going to be pretty tight. So we'll do rotations of like cool pieces of art made by local artists. We do a David Lynch retrospective or screening series. We'll make, log pillows people can buy. That's one thing I really want to do.
I like that.
But and certainly when there's like a special edition box set or something that comes out that's relevant to what we're doing in the theater, we'll definitely have those available. But we really want to bring people back to a model of borrowing and returning and using a physical media item that still is incredibly advanced. I mean, Blu-rays, the quality on a Blu-ray is always going to be higher than the quality of a stream, I think, personally. And on top of it, you get all of the extras, and you get great writing. I mean, I think Criterion had like one of their best years ever this year on physical media. So this is not an antiquated thing, and anybody who talks about it that way, I'm more than happy to get on my soapbox and give them the speech.
Forget that. Just invite them down here.
Yeah, or just come on down to Vidiots and we'll show you.
See it yourself.
Yeah.
I'm nervous to put some of my favorite VHS cassettes into my VCR.
Yeah.
Are you guys nervous when you rent these out?
Well, we're not renting VHS much anymore.
So what will you do with your collection?
Even in Santa Monica, we had not been really renting that much VHS out. No, I mean, the idea with the VHS is a really serious preservation project that involves going through with professional archivists. We've already done one round, and we identified 250 tapes out of 11,000 that were really special to us for one reason or another. The criteria for that project and what they were pulling was really fascinating to watch get put together. But no, the idea is that we're going to protect them and digitize them and hopefully make them available for rent on a DVD or a Blu-ray in a way that's both legal and safe. And yeah, I mean, certainly we have some tapes that I'm sure we would let out into the world if somebody really wanted to watch something on VHS. We love tape heads. We love VHS culture, but we're not trying to convince people to go back to that mode of watching. But we are trying to make them understand that that it is vitally important to preserve work that's only on VHS. I think there's a really serious misconception that everything is on film. So if you do film preservation, you're just catching everything. And I feel a little like Holden Caulfield out in the field, and instead of kids running over the edge, it's VHS tapes.
So what's the primary purpose other than preservation of your 11,000 video cassettes?
It's preservation.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's making sure that especially work made by filmmakers who were not making work on film because they couldn't afford it or they weren't, given the opportunity to do that. And you can imagine who those people are.
Yeah.
Those are often women, people of color, the LGBTQ community. I mean, it's not hard to understand, again, that gatekeeping comes into conversation when you're talking about access to film. And so a lot of people were shooting on video because that's what they had. And especially in a city like Los Angeles, a lot of people were shooting on video. And so not only do you have great works of art on video that never made it to another format, but you also have the history of the city in that archive.
Yeah.
And that's really important for us to maintain. We've got a lot of people in our community who are making archival work, who are documentarians, who need access to that kind of stuff. So really the VHS project is very much about preservation.
What do you think female vibe
Female vibe?
brings to a place like this that if it wasn't female run would miss out on?
I mean, I think everything from the fact that this will be a safe and comfortable place for everybody to be in. I mean, I don't have to launch a seminar on bro culture, but like a lot of other things that are cool, they do sometimes get sucked into this bro culture, which is a thing. It's and it sucks. It sucks to walk into a place that you should feel welcomed and feel uncomfortable and not wanted. And I sadly, in the 25 years I've lived in LA, that's happened to me a lot in some of the film spaces that have been sort of anointed as, cinephile with a capital C or cool. And Vidiots was one of the coolest spaces I ever walked into when I first moved here in 1999. And I felt welcomed and wanted. And that is something that everybody should feel. I also think programmatically, you'll see a really diverse slate of programming. I think certainly in our collection, the fact that Patty and Kathy were the ones putting that collection together means that you've got a really diverse collection. When I first started working for Patty and Kathy, I noticed there was like a huge section of like documentaries and like sort of self-help tapes on childbirthing, on child rearing, on early education. And I was like, why so much? And then of course I was like, well, duh. They were having babies and raising little kids while they were running Vidiots. And so of course they had an interest in that. And is that something you're gonna rent on a daily basis? Maybe not, but it's really valuable for us to have it.
But it also might speak to why you want, or at least why you reacted to children physically touching VHS tapes and DVDs, because you were seeing it through a maternal kind of a nurturing way, whereas I probably wouldn't.
I mean, maybe not. I have kids. We have a lot of little Vidiots at Vidiots. And yeah, I do. I think that Patty and Kathy starting the business before they had kids and then becoming parents certainly had an impact on the collection. It certainly made the collection more interesting and more diverse. And I know that I was really, really deeply impacted when I saw my kids running around Vidiots. It's an anecdote that I share a lot, but when I had run out of ideas for how to keep us going in Santa Monica and was really at a point where I had really only just taken the job, and I fell in love with Patty and Kathy so hard and wanted so much for the city to understand their legacy and appreciate what they had done for the culture, that I just thought, this is like my job. My job is to make sure that this collection stays accessible to the public and that LA recognizes who these people are. But I was at the end of my rope. I was like, I don't have any more rabbits to pull out of hats. I can't do anymore. And then my husband brought my kids down to the pier, and then I watched them run around in the video store, and then they talked to our clerk, Ryan, who's amazing. And they had these like long, intricate conversations about the stacks that they had pulled. My daughter couldn't even read, but she had this big stack. And they talked to Ryan, and then like a week later they came back and they talked about all the movies they'd watched, and they helped Ryan put the discs back on the shelves, and they learned how to alphabetize. And I was like, oh, fuck it. Like this may be impossibly hard and my hair may all fall out, but I've got to find a way to keep this alive, because I want it for my kids and I want it for future generations who are going to have a lot less access.
I've got a question for you, because not everybody's got money, but they may have 30 really cool DVDs or video cassettes, beta maybe even. Do you accept donations like that?
Yeah, I'm not taking beta. I got no room. But no. We do. I mean, especially people who have VHS collections of movies that are a little harder to find, that maybe didn't make the jump to DVD or Blu-ray, or maybe made the jump to DVD, but now those DVDs are out of print. Definitely reach out to us if you have a box of VHS, if you have lots and lots of VHS tapes of, like, you know, the Indiana Jones movies. We probably don't have so much room for that because they're readily accessible in other formats. But we do take them. I took some laser discs from our friend, I think it was Keith Calder and Jess Wu, who donated some laser discs. I took them just because I'm a hoarder. We probably won't take too much more of that. DVDs and Blu-rays, we love Blu-ray gifts because we closed in 2017. And we've got to make up for all of those years of collecting.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yep. So we will hopefully be getting a lot of in-kind donations through studios and distributors. But we love taking your Blu-rays off your hands and your DVDs for sure.
And because you're a 501c, did I say that right?
Yeah, 501c3.
There you go. Tax deductible.
Right. So if you can figure out the value of what you're donating, we will give you a donation receipt to reflect that.
That's awesome.
But also, Vidiots is an organization that has survived a pandemic on the generosity of some really well-resourced individuals, and then some individuals who don't have more than $10 to give, but if they give that $10, they're just as much part of the family. And that $10 goes a really, really, really long way when you have a project like this. It's literally building this from the ground up. So
I'm looking at the ground right now.
You're looking at the ground right now.
On that note, I want to thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much.
The sign says coming in 2022. Is that really going to happen?
Yes, it will happen in 2022, or poor Maggie will explode in a ball of flame and exhaustion. No, we are definitely opening in 2022. We never commit to a hard time frame because this world, as we all now know, is virtually impossible to predict. And in all honesty, this is really dependent on getting to our fundraising goals, and we do have an ambitious project on our hands. So we've got a ways to go on that $2.5 million goal. And the building has really progressed at a pretty rapid pace, but things like the cost of steel have gone through the roof.
Is this steel right here?
Oh yeah. Huh. And a bunch of steel that used to cost like $300 now costs $1,000.
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
So
oh my God.
And this is pandemic related, and it's challenging. So 22 for sure. I very much hope sometime in the warmer months. We'll see.
Do you have a movie that you really want to kick it all off with?
Oh yeah, but I can't tell you here.
Oh, so it's in your mind.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch. I mean, and we are also talking to our community. So there are a lot of people who've been really involved in this, and they are all mega film lovers with really good taste. So, it'll be pretty easy to program out the first, I'd say, 6 months of this space. But we also, we want to do really unique stuff for the community around us and for Eagle Rock and Northeast LA. And that's going to make for a really eclectic program. And maybe we'll do some teasers as we get closer to opening. Sorry, that wasn't a very exciting way to end.
People who want to donate or help in any way, they should go to your website.
Definitely, vidiotsfoundation.org. And, amplification is also really huge. I'm glad that you think that everybody knows about Vidiots, but I assure you that not everybody knows about Vidiots, and we need them to know. So following us on Instagram and Twitter at Vidiots, and Facebook at Vidiots Video, and And yeah, making small donations when you can, sharing our story with your friends and family. We're really into in-kind donations. So if, your aunt and uncle own a hardware store and they've got too many toilets on their hands, let us know. We'll take some toilets off your hands.
Or Barn of Steel.
Yeah, Barn of Steel. I think we're through the steel thing, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, tile, paint, everything, all of it really needs to come in the style of a donation. So that's where we are, and it all matters. And anybody just even saying out loud, I miss my video store. I miss the feeling of going to my local movie theater and browsing the racks at a video store. Consider getting involved in some way, shape, or form with what we're doing here at Vidiots. And support your other local video stores because they're still around and they're great.
Well, thank you so much. So glad you're around and your hair's not falling out, so you're doing okay.
Not yet. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll see you in the warmer months.
Let's do it.
All right.
Thanks.
How great was Maggie? You know who else has moved across town and into our hearts when we least expected it? That's right, our Patreons. So when you stoke us, you're saying, Tony, Jordan, here's a free video rental. Here's a ticket to a classic film projected in 35mm. Here's a David Lynch Blu-ray box set. Every donation you hand over helps keep this insane project rolling. So shout out to our Patreons, Nancy Rommelman, Sean Atlow, Matt Mills, Sean Wallace, Greg and Molly, Jamie Taylor, Mark Johnson, Kira Ann, Barney Grinke, Ben Welsh, Henry Furman, Jen Adams, The Lonely Chair, Trevor Wilson, and Bree Wild. Want to hear your name at the end of next week's show? Go to patreon.com/hereinla and give till it hurts. Speaking of renovations, one of our Patreons, Mark Johnson, is single-handedly renovating our web presence. And for that, he deserves extra love. So thank you, Mark. Thank you. Shout out to our Angelinos. To be an Angelino, all you have to do is PayPal us $25 or more, and we will list you on the Here in LA website that Mark's building, and it'll be there forever. You'll also be given a number to denote how early you got in on this. For example, Angelino number 1 is Allie Miller, 2, George Wright, 3, Rita Joanne, 4, Jason Sutter, 5, Grant Houghton, 6, Rob Baker, 7, Kev Cheng, and 8, Brenda Garcia. Just PayPal your hard-earned cash to busblog@gmail.com. Want to support us, but you know whom still hasn't paid you for that thing you did in 2021 and you're a little tight on the do-re-mi? Got it. You can still help. Post your favorite episode of Here in LA on your Facebook. Oh my God, post 2. Post this one. Tweet something nice about it. Tell your friends. Tell them how Here in LA is spelled, and that it's on Apple Podcasts and Google and Spotify. Here in LA is produced by myself, Tony Pierce, and the man who's helped us motor through Eagle Rock at the perfect pace, and we are so grateful, Jordan Katz. Editing, mixing, and music supervision by Jordan Katz. Songs by Orgo and Jordan Katz. Special thanks to Cindy for creating the logo, Jen for inspiring this, and cinephiles, movie lovers, and generous people who keep the movie-going and movie rental business thriving. Be kind, we wind!